I just wanted to sing a pretty song for you all. I'm not feeling that hilarious right now, so I just thought I should sing a pretty standard. My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart. This tempo's much too slow. It's slowing down the show. I could have used a hipper chart. Should I make a gesture here? Does my smile look sincere? God, I really need a beer. Is this art? No. Here comes that awful note where I constrict my throat. Pray I get through it, just pray. I really blew it. Oy vey. Now I really need to soar, 'cause we've done this part before. I don't like it anymore. It's a bore. Here's where you modulate while we accelerate. This part is such a cliche. Fooey on Valentine's Day. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Liz. Big fan.
You all were great on it. So what should we do? Are you going to talk to me now? You can talk. Yeah, I want to talk to you.
Okay, I'd love for you to.
I want you to speak something from the audience.
I have no heart.
Good. Very thin book.
Well, I got a couple things later that are a little more heartfelt. So hopefully that'll... Listen, it's from my heart, Liz. For these prices, you got to take what you get. Anyway, there, you'll see. And if you don't like that, I'll sing more.
Do you want me to sit down? Get out there. Are you using this? And then I'll try. Okay.
Hello, does this work?
Yes.
Well, guys, you know,
So festive.
our little group, which we started, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, thanks to Carolyn. Wow. Well, we've in that several years that we've been together, we've had some really wonderful guests. 2 of them are here right now, Carolyn and Faith. But what has really been exciting is to have Jason come to our show. This will be his 2nd time. He's going to get it right this time. So he's been practicing. And, but Jason, first of all, we've got a lot of judges here. You know what? When I do these kind of interviews, I always like to find something about the artist that I didn't know. One of the questions I tend to ask is, so what was the first moment that you discovered musical theater?
Is that a trick question?
And we've rehearsed this.
Well, my first memory of musical theater, my mother was a dancer in New York. And I know, it was pretty cool. She danced at Ben Martin's Riviera, which was on the other side of the George Washington Bridge. And she was in a chorus line, dance chorus line with Dodie Goodman and Kate Mostel.
Oh, wow.
Zero's wife. And she was 17 years old, so she was underage, and it was kind of a mafia kind of a place. And she danced there, and then she danced at the Latin Quarter in New York. And so then she got married and then moved to Europe, had children. Anyway, so to answer your question, they moved to Chicago, and my mom, dad, brother, and sister, and my mom continued to do community theater work. And I saw her do Wonderful Town at the Elgin Players Club. And my mother was in the chorus. And I was 4 years old, and I just went, what the hell is this? I loved it.
Well, you're 4 years old there, but when was the time when you're running around the house singing a musical songs from a musical?
That would have been when my mother, we all moved, my mom remarried, and we moved to Oklahoma City, and my mom got cast in Gypsy at the Lyric Theater in Oklahoma City. Cast.
Flypaper.
Tessitura. It was perfect. It was like perfect. She was like an over-the-hill ballet dancer, stripper. And that's kind of what my mom was.
And you were the gimmick.
I was the one at home watching. Well, I went to all the rehearsals, and I listened to that album. And Maria Karnalova on the album looked like my mother. She did in the lower corner when they had the three strippers. Yeah. She really looked like my mom and sounded like her. And so I was singing the whole cast album of Gypsy.
Well, it's a good one to sing too. But when was the first time you thought to yourself that I might be able to do this as a profession?
Well, that didn't come till later, but I'm still wondering. Yeah. I'm still wondering.
I mean, did you have any? Did you have any people that you looked up to or wanted to emulate?
Well, yeah, Joel Graae.
Not bad.
And so
Jason, so you're
there's a whole other interview over there.
You're exposed to musical theater by your parents, correct?
Yes, they exposed me a lot. To me a lot.
And that was tough. That was a rough thing. But I know you were in the choir. Were you in the choir when you were in high school?
Yes, high school. I did the Edison. I grew up in Tulsa, and so I grew up in the Tulsa. Yes, which is a slide. Backwards. Hold on.
None of us. Well, which is that is the playing sixth grade. And why did you go? I wanted to play clarinet.
Gosh, that's kind of echoing.
I know, because it went away and now it's back. So I try to switch.
That's weird. There's so many voices. Oh, now it's gone. I listened to Peter and the Wolf. They played Peter and the Wolf for us in Tulsa, in my elementary school. And I wanted to play clarinet. I had a weird name. My name was, no one could pronounce it. Jason was a weird name back in that day. My parents were divorced. I was from Chicago, but living in Tulsa. Everything about it, I was odd. So I wanted to play clarinet because that was just kind of a normal instrument. And the band teacher called my mother in and said, well, I had really good music scores on the scholastic test, whatever we took. And she said he should play oboe.
So she came up with the oboe.
My band teacher and my mother. And my mother wanted everything to be different. So that was great.
Well, so it's sounding like you had the support of your family and going into this crazy world of acting and theater.
Yeah, my dad was a cellist. My sister was a pianist. My brother played French horn and baritone. And my mom was a dancer. So, you know.
It would be hard to evade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're in high school, you're in the chorus, you're playing the oboe, and then you go on with your education. And where did that take you?
I went to SMU in Dallas, Texas. That's right, Liz. SMU. Do you know SMU? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there were no Jews at SMU, but But I went there. Who? Joe Graae. Yeah, well, I was an oboe major at SMU. And so, an oboe major. You got it, Liz. And so I did that for 1 year. And then what I did was I quit because you have to make your own reeds, which was a drag. And I don't know if you know about oboe reeds, but they're like little, your reeds.
Really?
You have to make your own reeds. And for every like 20 reeds you make, one works. And so you spend, the oboists go home and they just whittle and do cane. It's a special cane that you have to buy, and there's a little cork with a little silver metallic thing that comes out of the cork and thread, and you got to wrap this certain specific thread around it, and then you whittle the reed away. And it's got to, oboists have to make their own reeds because their embouchures are so specific. That's right, Liz. Together, yeah. And that's why a lot of oboe players go crazy, because the opening is so tiny that you suppress so much air from your brain because you're blowing like you're doing that. Like French horn players and oboists all kind of go nutty after a certain age because the opening is so tiny. So anyway, I hated it. And so I quit. And then I transferred to Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, and I became a musical theater major.
And when you were and when you transferred, was there one particular part that you ended up playing that you really, really loved?
Oh, yes, Pseudolus and Forum. That was kind of my first really big lead, and I went, oh, this feels right.
Continuing in that thought,
Plug it in.
do you remember the show that got you your union cards?
Got my what?
Union card, SAG.
Oh, well, I got my equity card at Pittsburgh Civic Light Opera. Yes. Pittsburgh Civic Light Opera at Heinz Hall. That was a big place where people got their union cards.
And looking at your resume, you've done a lot of work in opera. Was that something you thought you would be doing, or did it just fall into your?
Yeah, I got Merry Widow at LA Opera, and his name was Blue. And he said, you got to change that last name. And so I said, well, I don't want to. I'm Danish. My father was born in Denmark. And he said, well, what about changing the pronunciation? And so I said, okay. So I tried it for like 2 months, Jason Graae, like everybody was pronouncing it. But then everybody thought I was trying to be Joel Graae because I had dark curly hair and I was wiry and I looked like him. Same. And then when they found out, I'd say I'm Jason Graae, and then I'd spell it for them, and then that was even more confusing. So they were like, ugh. So I said, let's just go back to plan A. So I'm so happy that people just even try to pronounce it. I don't care.
It must be frustrating.
Well, I love it, and it means gray in Danish. So when they call me Jason Graae, it's not that far off.
Well, in researching this man, this actor, this
man.
I came up, and besides realizing that he was involved in several operas, you've done TV, you've done everything that an actor is supposed to be doing.
I've done everything and everybody.
Well,
like you do.
Did you in your time with Forever Plaid? Did any of you ever switch characters? Like
No.
you were Sparky, right?
Yes.
And
no,
you never like one day said, "Let me do your."
No, I couldn't sing the two higher things. They were too high, and they were really difficult. The parts, the vocal line. So no, we never did. We never did. But that's an interesting question. We did get drunk once before the show, which is the only time I've ever had a drink before a show. It was Halloween night, and we had 20 people in the audience, and we were all like, to hell with it. So we did shots of tequila before the show.
Maria Conchita Alonso and you.
And what?
Maria Conchita Alonso would always go to the bar every night before Spider-Woman and do a 2 shot.
I can't
Every
do that.
performance. I'm like, how the heck?
I don't know how people I can't even have a sip of wine before I perform.
Yeah.
But that was fun that night.
Well, looking at your awards and nominations, what was Hello Mutta as far as an experience with you?
Hello Mutta, Hello Fata was a pretty fantastic experience. It was at Circle in the Square, and it was Tova Felcha and Mary Testa and myself and Steven Berger and Paul Kreppel. You all know Paul Kreppel from out here? It was just the five of us. And it was all Alan Sherman. It was one of the first jukebox musicals. It was all Alan Sherman.
Jukebox.
Jukebox. You got it, baby. And I didn't get it. We did like a table read the first day of rehearsal, and I thought, I didn't grow up with Alan Sherman. Just put that anywhere, Carol. And anyway, so I called my agent and said, I think you need to get me out of here because I don't think I'm good in this, and I think it's going to be really bad. And I was the lead. It was about a character named Barry Bachman, the day he was born to the day he died, and it was all this songs. And anyway, he said, you better stay. I have a good feeling about it, and Mary Testa will never speak to you again if you don't. And it opened and it got rave reviews, and I got nominated for a Drama Desk Award. So, and Brent Carver beat me out for Kiss of the Spider Woman. Go figure. I was robbed. Robbed.
You mean something besides an election could be stolen?
Yes. No, he should have won. But he was brilliant. He was brilliant. The good thing was I went to the awards knowing I wasn't going to win because he had to have won.
So I did a couple of shots, like I do.
Did a couple shots.
Like the awards.
Yeah. So, Jason, how long did you spend back east?
I lived there for 15 years. And then I came out here to do Forbidden Hollywood. And yay! And that was a great way to come out to Los Angeles. And I made friends for life in that. And then I was living back and forth. And then I got evicted from my apartment in New York. And I was doing a really bad TV series called Rude Awakening on Showtime before people were really watching Showtime with Sherilyn Fenn and Lynn Redgrave. And I was on 2 seasons of that. I know. Did you work with them? Of course you did. She was the best. She was the best. Well, I was her date to one of the Actors Fund things where she was being honored. Oh, that's so
Jason,
sweet.
in the Forbidden,
I loved her.
In the Forbidden Broadway shows that you did, was there a particular artist that you were imitating that you really?
Oh, that's a good question, Arthur. You're a good interviewer.
Oh, right.
You give good interviews. Isn't Arthur a good interviewer?
First of all, every time he says, that's a good question, it really is just to get some time. You can think of something. It's all right. I get it. I understand.
Arthur, you don't think you know me as well as you do.
Well,
I don't know what that means. David, you're doing a great job. The second song was particularly my favorite. I just wanted to say, let's see, who was good? I gave Imitation Light. Christine Petty and Suzanne Blakeslee were like, they embodied the characters. Jerry McIntyre and I were like, but let's see, I was a good Tom Hanks and I was a good John Travolta.
When did Tom Hanks get put into Forbidden Hollywood?
It was Forbidden Hollywood, which so that was when Forrest Gump came out.
Oh.
So Forbidden Hollywood was like an industrial in LA. You know, it was all like making fun of the film industry. So we had everybody coming in, and it was like an in-house industrial. It was a great way to move out to Los Angeles. And so, yeah, the Coronet Theater across from Trashy Lingerie, which is still there. The Coronet's not really a theater anymore, right? It's like they do the Largo, they perform there, but they don't do shows like that kind of show.
So you're auditioning, you're getting into shows. When was the time you said, I have to make my own one-man show?
Oh, it's when I was out here in LA and I was like, I got to do something to fill these days. No, actually, I got offered to do something at Royce Hall with Christina Ebersol. And Michael Kirker, who's been a VIP in my life, from ASCAP, said, how would you like to, because I dabbled in it in New York and done some concerty stuff in New York. So he put me together with Christine Ebersol. I did Act 1 and she did Act 2, and then we sang some duets at the end. And then I did it at the Cinegrill and we recorded it. And then it became a kind of my kind of go-to. Yeah, it was like filled in the blanks.
Did you have a favorite artist when you were listening as a kid that you related to? I mean, you mentioned Joel Graae. But
Joel Graae for films was definitely an idol. I loved Barbra Streisand, gay. And I loved Judy Collins. I love Judy Collins. The Wildflowers album.
Were you able to mimic Julie Collins?
No. No, I just listened to her. I would not want to mimic her.
Well, I'll tell you,
Nice idea.
if you haven't,
You mimic people?
no, I can't even mimic myself.
Oh.
But anyway, so you're doing your one-man shows and you're out here. When you're on the road, you get a role like you just finished doing Wicked.
Mhm.
And that was a national tour?
Yeah.
And how long are you on the road with that?
I did Wicked for 1.5 years.
How many cities do you think you went to?
Oh, God, I don't know. We did the LA. We were here for 10 weeks in LA at the Pantages, which was great. And yeah, the Pantages.
Well, once you find parking in there at Hollywood, you stay. That's it's really it's a no-brainer. And so, Jason, I think, well, they're not getting bored, but yes, we'd love to hear you. What's the second song?
He came all his way. Well, I thought I would sing a Jerry Herman song.
So before we get into that, you had a really special relationship with Mr. Herman.
I did, but I can't talk about it. I'm just kidding.
It's on the internet.
I was really in his life for 20 years. I traveled the country with him.
Red Night for Singing?
No, that was Rodgers and Hammerstein. No, Jerry Herman, I did a show called Hello, Jerry. That's where we met with Karen Morrow, who has been here. Karen said, oh, I got a wonderful lunch when I did the thing. And I went,
He's never going to forget.
well, now that it's just snacks, I don't know if she's going to come. But we
save some salami.
We toured the country. Jerry and Don Pippin, his musical director for years, and Karen and Paige O'Hara and myself. And then during that time, I did Mac and Mabel with him at Lincoln Center, and he cast me in the Grand Tour at the Colony, and then I did it at the York Theater. Thank you, one person. It was amazing experience. It just was an amazing experience. And yeah, he came up to me and he said, you know, this show it reads like your driver's license, and you need to do it.
I don't know what that means, but sure means something.
It means that I was meant to.
So
I'm going to sing a song from the Grand Tour. Is that all right?
perfect.
So I played the character of Jakubowski, who was a Jewish Polish immigrant. And he found himself in France fleeing the Nazis. And he hooks up with this very rigid, uptight, conservative colonel. And they form this unlikely alliance. And the colonel has a girlfriend, the beautiful, the blonde, the Goyish Marianne. And he imagines what life would be like with the beautiful Marianne. See the lovely lady in the living room, lighting up the evening with her youthful bloom. From her graceful presence you may well presume that's Mrs. S.L. Jakubowski. I'll read her my Spinoza and my Baudelaire, walk her through the Tuileries to get some air. Everything I used to do alone I'll share with Mrs. S.L. Jakubowski. We'll artfully combine her old world with mine, and we'll hang a crucifix in one room, a mezuzah in the sunroom. If Reva Jakubowski could look down and see this miracle of miracles that's come to me, she'd gladly have a shiksa in the family, a girl who'd bring such magic to my life. I'll go to Mass and I'll respect her wishes, and she'll start using separate dishes when Mrs. Yakubowski is my wife. In time we'll have a son that we can dote upon. We'll teach him both religions when the rabbi's gone. He'll learn his catechism with his yarmulke on. We'll call him Christian Yakubowski. I will not question why I am blinded by one sweet smile that barely needs correction. How can you correct perfection? And when it's almost over and I'm gray and bent, trying to remember where the years all went, trying to recall how much each moment meant, and looking for the meaning of my life. When not a soul remembers what my name is, my one lasting claim to fame is Mrs. Yakubowski was my wife. Oh, I know he was a great lyricist. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, is there anyone here who would like to ask Jason a question or comment? The man in the sweater.
I promised my wife, Barbara, that I would mention we saw you in ragtime. And
Schubert Theater. Yeah, we were here for a year.
And you made
That's
it
right.
you made it out of the parking lot.
The Schubert? Yeah, that parking lot was a pain on a matinee day. You know, I miss the Schubert Theater, though. God, do I miss that theater.
One of the only full-scale productions of it. Now it's so scaled down. Like that was so beautifully staged.
Yeah, it was huge. We did it was the U.S. premiere of Ragtime here.
Yeah.
It opened here 6 months before it opened on Broadway, which was very peculiar. LaShawn's was in it, and Brian Stokes Mitchell, and Marcia Missman.
And how was it putting on that straitjacket?
And John Rubinstein.
Yeah, I made my entrance 60 feet upside down in a straitjacket and handcuffs, which I've never done sober.
But you got out of that jacket. How did this?
I did.
How did that happen?
The magic of the theater. It was scary. I mean, it was really scary. I had to like go up to the catwalk at the top of the theater and be up there. And there was a very hulky stagehand, shall we say, and he put me. I had a harness underneath, and then I sat on the thing like this, and then they hung me. They attached the hook to the harness. It came down here, and then they would like push me off the ledge, and then I would be hanging upside down. And I was hanging upside down for when the People of Harlem came on. I was in place, upside down.
That's
like a sloth.
That's at least a minute and a half or something.
So like a good minute and a half. Yeah. And then the Immigrants came on, and then they lowered me. It was an incredible entrance. Scott Carollo. I believe he's like a therapist now. He was amazing.
I think he's in
I
therapy.
think he did.
Yes, please.
I like show albums, and you were in a lot like shows that never were recorded originally, and you were on a lot of those kids.
Well, that was really nice. That back in the day, there were these conductors who then did their own stuff. So you had to be part of the conductors. So you had like John McGlynn, And so I was in his posse, Evans Hale. So John McGlynn did the Showboat album, and then he did all the stuff with EMI Classics and London Symphony. So I got to record Annie Get Your Gun with him and Sitting Pretty. And Evans Hale did the Babes in Arms of Lincoln Center. So I got in with those people, and then that all kind of led me to Bruce Kimmel, who's out here, who does so many, many, many things. And I probably recorded. Bruce was, of course he was. I'm sure that went on for 9 hours. Bruce was amazing.
I've been watching a lot of the Tony, all the Tony Award shows are all on YouTube. I get it on my TV and I watch it. It's so much fun. And there is Jason pops up, Grand Night for Singing, swinging and singing. Right?
Swing. Yes, exactly. Yeah, they chose that strange number, the opening number, where all we do is kind of sway. And you can feel the audience go, what the hell is it? But
I'm not going to buy a ticket.
What's great here today, we have two people in the room who have been performing on Broadway shows. That would be Joshua, right? He's like and Jason, and also sharing with Knife who was here.
Faye.
I was 16 when I got my course of live and kicking. Then I went into partner our French at the Broadway Theater.
Oh my gosh.
Let me give Harvard show it.
Flahooly. Amazing. Was Russ Thacker in Flahooly? Russ Thacker, was he in Flahooly? Oh, okay.
That's Barbara Cook.
Barbara Cook, yeah.
And I just realized
And Susan was in Torch Song Trilogy.
Yes. Oh, yes. So I have a question to all of the people who were performed on Broadway. How was that when you finally got that job? You realized
it's one of the jobs, and it happened to be in the right neighborhood. That's all. I mean, to me, when you were doing a show, it doesn't matter if people bought it anymore or ever. I mean,
But Faye, you don't feel that a Broadway show. No, the fact that you were just on Broadway doing a show, which is phenomenal. And those of us who aren't performers, is it a really special rush that you get when you're going on that stage in the Broadway district?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's thrilling. Yeah, but it is thrilling to just, you feel like there's responsibility that you're standing on Broadway that you don't necessarily feel when you're at the Rochester Jiva Theater, So, but I will say, and to back up what Faye's saying, just because you're on Broadway doesn't mean everybody knows what they're doing. And so that was interesting.
But I mean, you go into those theaters that have such history, and so there's an aura of fantastic that is in the air. You go there, first of all, how did that feel to you? Like, this no problem.
Oh, it was thrilling. I mean, it just was so thrilling. But my first one was a big flop, so.
Doesn't matter. You were on Broadway.
Do black patent leather shoes really reflect that? So I was so excited. It was at the Alvin Theater and it was huge. And we stepped foot out on that stage and it was just like, oh. But
I know you must.
Such a short time.
You think of all the other actors who've been on that stage. You're on the exact same stage,
it's just
breathing that air.
Yeah, it is. It's quite historical. It's very thrilling. I'll be back in a second if anybody wants me.
Well,
Well, what was it like for you to perform?
Well, I did it. We Forever Plaid was the warm-up act to the Tonys the first time I got to do it. So we were right before the broadcast. We warmed up the audience. That was very exciting. Then they whisked us out, and when the camera started going, so it's like, wow. Then the next year I was doing falsettos on Broadway, and then we were part of the big opening number, Celebrate Broadway, that Liza Minnelli sang, and they had people from each cast come out, and the audience would scream when the cast would come out. That was really thrilling. And then we got to hang out and drink and eat with everybody, and that was great. Grand Night for Singing, we had closed by that point.
Oh.
So it was kind of bittersweet, but I knew everybody, so we just hung out backstage. But yeah, it was really thrilling. Grand Night for Singing was odd because we got 2 Tony nominations for Best Musical and Best Book of a Musical, and it was a review. And like the,
It's an amazing book, though.
well, the lines were, most of the lines that were said were my ad-libs. So.
Especially Tony everyone writing it on the fly.
Yeah, well, I don't remember doing this, but I guess I called Walter Bobby, our director, when the nominations came out, and I went, Walter, is this the Tony nominated writer who wrote, "Hi, Lynn. Hi, Jason." Literally, I mean, there were no lines. It was just like
It's so memorable when you say it.
I made them.
That's right. So are there any other questions or comments that we can show on this young man? No, they're like dead. Okay.
Silent. No, they're not.
Hold on, is this thing on?
He answered a lot.
Yeah, I have a question.
I
I have a
did not.
question.
No, I charge extra for the oboe.
But not only does he play the oboe, you play the
Thank
piano
you.
as well.
Double my read.
But Jason, you also play the piano.
Yes.
So when did those lessons come into your life?
I started playing piano in 2nd grade and then oboe in 6th grade.
Wow. Well, it is such an honor.
You're so you're so sweet.
I saw this man in an off-Broadway show. I don't even remember the year. It was the voice. Olympus on my mind. So when I see it, I'm seeing this performer who I'd never seen before, and I'm thinking to myself, this is what musical comedy is. Where has he been all my life? And that was in New York. Now I've moved back to LA, and we got to see you perform in so many cabarets, from Bruce Kimmel's to all the ones that you did for charity. It's really an honor.
Well, thanks for having me. I love talking to you. I loved our conversation yesterday. We were like, it's just like
We love seeing you bring it to that.
Oh, and
I love that. That's why I love that.
what the Sondheim
Main host of the
Sondheim, yes, which
Who knows how much is left of it? You might just be up for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think that was such a fun night. Such a fun night. Let's do the song. Okay, we have one more falsetto song. Just because you twisted my arm. What, Susan? You're so sweet. This is from Falsettos, but I didn't sing this song, but the guy who was my patient sang it. It's been hot, also very sweet, and I'm not usually indiscreet, but when he sparkles, the earth begins to sway. What more can I say? How can I express how confused am I by our happiness? I can't eat breakfast. I cannot tie my shoe. What more can I do? If I say I love him, you might think my words come cheap. Let's just say I'm glad he's mine, away to sleep. It's been hot, also it's been swell, more than not. It's been more than words can tell. I halt, I stammer, I sing a roundelay. What more can I say? I'll stay calm, untie my tongue, and try to stay both kind and young. I was taught never brag or shout, Still it's hot, just like how you read about, and all so caring and never too uncouth. That's the simple truth. Can you tell I have been revised? It's so swell. Damn it, even I'm surprised. We laugh, we fumble, we take it day by day. What more can I say?
Awesome.
We just met yesterday. I know, we just met.